Vladimir Putin y el líder de Corea del Norte, Jong intercambiaron cartas el martes, prometiendo fortalecer aún más las relaciones, según los medios estatales norcoreanos KCNA y la agencia estatal de noticias rusa TASS. En su carta, Putin, Kim dijo que los dos países se apoyarán y cooperarán firmemente entre sí, informó KCNA. Por su lado, en una carta a Kim, Putin expresó su confianza en que los dos países fortalecerán la cooperación bilateral en todos los campos para el bienestar de los dos pueblos y la firme estabilidad y seguridad de la península de Corea y todo el noreste de Asia. Por otro lado, el presidente de Rusia, Vladimir Putin, habló en un mensaje pregrabado en la conferencia de Moscú sobre seguridad internacional este martes. Dijo, entre otras cosas, que la política exterior de Estados Unidos echa combustible al fuego. Tomamos contacto con Claudia Rebasa, quien tiene más detalles con nosotros precisamente en vivo desde Londres. Adelante, Claudia. Buenas tardes para ti.
Buenos días para ustedes, Alejandra. Con el estilo que lo caracteriza, vimos al presidente ruso este martes, Vladimir Putin, criticar nuevamente, esta vez a la política exterior de los Estados Unidos. En un mensaje grabado para los participantes de este Foro Internacional de Seguridad en Moscú, se refirió a la política exterior de los Estados Unidos. Escuchemos.
A lo que conduce esta política de echar leña al fuego se ve claramente en el ejemplo de Ucrania, inyectando miles de millones de dólares al régimen neonazi, proporcionándole equipos, armas, municiones, enviando a sus asesores militares y mercenarios. Se está haciendo todo lo posible para encender aún más el conflicto, para atraer a otros estados hacia él.
Ese fue el presidente Vladimir Putin más temprano, y Putin también argumentó que países de Occidente provocan nuevos conflictos para beneficiarse. Ahora, Alejandra, en el mismo foro también vimos al ministro de Defensa ruso, Sergei Shoigu, que no se le ve usualmente. Esta vez él estuvo con representantes de China e Irán en este foro. Ahora, Shoigu se refirió a un punto importante. Dijo que Rusia podría reconsiderar su decisión de no usar bombas de racimo, aunque ya sabemos que organizaciones de derechos humanos como Human Rights Watch, por ejemplo, han denunciado el uso de Rusia de estas bombas de racimo, causando muertes y lesiones graves a la población civil. Alejandra.
Claudia, también se han reportado varios ataques en Ucrania. Cuéntanos sobre este tema.
En el terreno militar este martes, Alejandra, Ucrania ha recibido aproximadamente durante la noche 28 misiles, de acuerdo a la Fuerza Aérea del país. De esos 28 misiles, 16 han sido interceptados durante la madrugada. Ahora, han habido daños materiales en diferentes partes del país. En la zona de Dnipro, aproximadamente aquí, un centro deportivo fue totalmente destruido. En la región de Dnipropetrovsk, continuamos aquí en el oeste del país. Los misiles alcanzaron una empresa industrial que se incendió, hiriendo a 2 personas por lo menos, de acuerdo a la administración militar regional. Y si hablamos del oeste del país, aquí en la región de Lviv, fragmentos de estos misiles cayeron sobre edificios de apartamentos y un supermercado, atacando una vez más a la población civil, Alejandra. Hasta el momento, eso sí, no se han reportado muertes este día martes. Ahora, por otro lado, respondiendo a las críticas de que las tropas ucranianas no están avanzando lo suficiente, voceros del gobierno de Ucrania aseguran que se están enfocando en destruir las capacidades de ataque de Rusia y afectar sus operaciones logísticas para poder continuar esta ofensiva.
The fires still smolder at dusk, moving to the very front of Ukraine's counter-offensive near Robotyne. A few hours ago, there was intense bombardment around this area. And now the sun is setting, there's the occasional round being fired, but most of it seems to be towards Russian positions. We're here to learn of a new tactic that may help Ukraine overcome one of the hardest obstacles here, minefields. Shellfire is a constant overhead. The drone unit used daylight to help direct artillery fire. You'll see the incoming shortly. Okay, so they're using this to correct the next shell that's fired. And no, they must keep hidden.
Якщо противник побачить дрона, вони зразу всю силу, все почнуть артилерія, танки, міномети будуть працювати.
There's still the basic problem that it's trench warfare and minefields, and that, by definition, makes the going slow. But as the sky darkens and the air cools here, an advantage has emerged. One of their drones is equipped with a thermal camera, and they've noticed, out in the wide cratered fields about 4 kilometers away where the Russians hide, something new. Some of these white dots are Russian landmines. They retain the heat of the summer sun as the earth around them cools. The contrast is greatest at dusk or dawn, experts say, so they seem to glow. The unit told us they use special charges to blow up the mines. It's not a precise science, but a huge help in seeing an invisible enemy.
От ми були взяли посадку на 1 кілометр 300 метрів. І, якщо не помиляюсь, зняли або 47, або 53 розтяжки. А розтяжки не з одної гранати, а ми називаємо це букет, де на одній гранаті ще декілька гранат.
Encircled by mines, don't try to tell them their counter-offensive could be faster.
Знаете, таких моментов довольно много. Каждый день, когда выезжаешь куда-то на работу, каждый раз ты переступаешь вот этот порог страха, и тебе нужно что-то вот. Потому что кто кроме тебя это сделает? Никого. Если кого-то вместо тебя пошлют, и с ним что-то случится, ты себе этого не простишь.
There's little time to reflect, though.
Guys, run.
Come, go. As a Russian helicopter is spotted coming right at them, we take cover for it to pass. This is the kind of threat they endure every day, when just one piece of information can send them running for cover. And then we leave. Hours after we left, we're told that trench network came under heavy Russian attack, which they repelled. But the grind is constant and respite rare, and any advantage, no matter how small, urgently welcome.
Well, Russia claims it foiled 2 types of drone strikes launched by Ukraine Friday morning. One of them was apparently caught on video. Moscow says that's a sea drone attack on a naval base in southwestern Russia, which it says was repelled by its warships. Social media videos suggest one vessel may have been damaged, and northwest of there, Russian troops say they had success intercepting aerial drones in Crimea. Well, Ukraine is tempering down on expectations of its counteroffensive, which has slowed down to a crawl, partly because of Russian minefields. President Vladimir Zelensky says that Russians are also trying to push back, but they're getting nowhere.
Frontline. The battles are tough. The occupiers are trying with all their might to stop our guys. The assaults are very fierce. But no matter what the enemy does, it is the Ukrainian forces that dominate.
Well, for more, Nada Bashir joins us from London. Good to have you with us, Nada. So what more can you tell us about that Ukrainian sea drone attack?
Well, we are just getting a new video of this now, which appears to show this boat being towed away from this naval base, despite earlier comments from the Russian Defense Ministry. But of course, we are also learning more about other drone attacks across Russian territory. We saw those attacks yesterday. 7 drones reportedly shot down, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, just southwest of Moscow. And in the early hours of this morning, the Russian Defense Ministry says its air defense systems were able to down 10 Ukrainian drones over occupied Crimea, causing no casualties and no infrastructural damage, according to the Defense Ministry. But of course, Linda, over the last few nights, we've also seen continued drone attacks across Ukrainian territory as well. And many of those drone attacks, largely Iranian-made Shahed attack drones, have been repelled by Ukraine's air defense systems. But of course, some have impacted infrastructure, have met their targets, particularly in the port city of Odessa, where those drone attacks have caused damage to port infrastructure and then, crucially, grain storage facilities as well. We heard from President Zelensky yesterday saying that since the beginning of this invasion last year, almost 2,000 drone attacks have been targeted towards Ukrainian territory.
And Nada, Ukrainians are cooling expectations on the progress with this counteroffensive that they've launched. Just explain further why.
Look, when we look at the videos from the front lines, assessments of statements from officials, it appears as though no major movements or progress has been made on the front lines over the last few days. We've heard from Ukrainian officials over the last few days. There have been gradual advances, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, but they say that their focus now is not on deadlines. They are not focused on the timing of this counteroffensive, but rather their main priority is focusing on protecting Ukrainian lives, and particularly protecting those of the Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines. And one of the key obstacles that Ukrainian soldiers are now facing across Ukraine's eastern front lines is the amount of territory across those eastern regions that have been mined by Russia. We've heard from one Ukrainian official saying that there are between 2 and 5 mines on average per square meter in some areas of the front lines, which is making it increasingly difficult for Ukrainian troops to operate on the ground. But at this stage, it appears as though that fighting is really concentrated on 2 key regions in the Zaporizhia region. But we continue to see that devastating artillery fire across that region, impacting civilian life day in, day out.